Leave the Santa Train just yet, because when we come back, we're going to preview the new Santa Train book. Stay tuned. And welcome back to this edition of the Kingsport ChamberZone on location from Eastman Credit Union.
And continuing chatting about the Santa Train, one new and very exciting gift that will be on board the Santa Train this year is a new book entitled The Santa Train Tradition. It is creatively written and beautifully illustrated. This children's book is a must-have for anyone who has ever experienced the Santa Train, anyone who has children, or just, quite frankly, anyone who loves Christmas. Here now to tell us all about it is the book's author and Kingsport's own Leanne Hoover. She's also going to tell us where you can find your copy. Leanne, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Congratulations on this very exciting book.
Yes.
It's not staying on the shelves, we understand. And
That's what I'm hearing. So that's exciting.
That is.
it's very exciting. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first of all, tell us how and why you decided to write this book.
Okay. Well, several years ago, I actually had the opportunity to ride the Santa Train as a journalist. And when I got off the train, I talked to so many people who had been coming to the train for years. Grandparents were there, parents were there with their children. And the one thing that resonated among everyone was tradition. And the more stories that I heard and the more things that I ended up experiencing myself, I just thought this has to be much more than an article. And at that time, I didn't know what it was going to be. But this little book is now the compilation of many of those stories.
And it's a very special story that you portray here in the book. Tell us about that.
Well, it's a fictitious family, but it's all on the factual adventures that I actually heard about people going to the Santa Train. So 7-year-old Ben Massey actually tells the story about his family and how they would leave early in the morning before the sun even was up, and they would walk to go and meet the Santa Train, and that was their annual tradition. And he just talks about some of what they do as a family, and it incorporates all of the things that I heard from others who actually come to the train each year. So I think that it makes a neat read-aloud book. We talk about, it is a children's book.
Which is good for you.
I knew that was coming. So
Well,
maybe you'll read aloud it to me on one show.
It's a children's book, but it's a reminder for so many adults. I tease that it's masquerading as a children's book because the adults remember this story. And so many have said, you know, that's what we used to do, or we would get our Christmas tree that day, we would pick it out and we would cut it down later. Because as you know, it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So the train brings Christmas to the mountains early.
Sure. And in addition to being a very special story, the book in itself is very special in that it benefits two causes.
Yes, that's one thing, Laura, that we have been really tickled with. Initially, I knew that I wanted to give back in some way. To be able to have this gift, to write and do this story, I wanted to also give back. So when we initially approached Food City about being the vendor for this inaugural year, I talked about wanting to give a portion of the proceeds to the Santa Train Scholarship and then also to the Literacy Council of Kingsport. As I mentioned, it's a wonderful read-aloud book, so I knew that through the Literacy Council, this could also help them. So Food City has stepped on board, and all of the proceeds from the sale of the books through Food City will benefit the Santa Train Scholarship. And as you all know, that's a chamber program, and it will follow a high school senior along the route of the Santa Train, all the way up from Kentucky through Southwest Virginia into Kingsport. And a graduating high school senior will get the Santa Train Scholarship, and it will follow them through college.
That's great.
As we just mentioned, the book is selling fast. They can't keep them on the shelves. It makes for a great keepsake. It's a great book to give to children and families who've experienced the Santa Train. It's also a nice Christmas decoration. So where can folks get this, Leanne, and how much is it?
You know, Bob, people have said that. I've heard so many ways to use it. People have wanted it to just be out in their homes during the holidays. They're taking it as a housewarming gift, a baby gift. If there's an older child and they want to take some little something to, you know, the child when they've had a baby in the family, and they're going to Food City, and any Food City location, like I was mentioning, from the train route all the way up from Kentucky through Southwest Virginia and into the Tri-Cities market. And who doesn't live near a Food City? But, you know, so you can go to your local Food City and purchase the book, or there is a website, and it's www.thesanatrain.com. So for people who don't live in our region, or if they have out-of-state relatives, they can go to the website to purchase
Santa
it.
Train or Santa Train Tradition?
The Santa Train Tradition.
Tradition.
And it has to have www.thesanatraintradition.com. And it's $11.99, $13.13 including tax.
Very good. You must have a great sense of pride, Leanne, for having written this book, because we're just continue to hear great comments and feedback on it at the Kingsport Chamber. You must feel
Well, thank
really
you,
good
Bob.
about
And
this.
you know, I feel like it has truly been my privilege to be able to do this and my pleasure. I've enjoyed it, and I hope that it will stay around and be a keepsake for many families to enjoy for years to come.
Well, undoubtedly it will. Leanne Hoover, we just want to thank you so much for
thanks,
being
Laura.
on the show and for this wonderful job that you've done with this book.
Well, thank you all for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. Congratulations
Thanks,
again.
Bob.
Please stay with us, because when Laura and I come
I'm